The obsidian asteroid fields of the Sol periphery held secrets that would reshape galactic history. Here, in the most isolated region of human-controlled space, the United Earth battleship Leviathan took shape, a testament to humanity's most ambitious technological endeavor. Admiral Catherine Takeshi stood motionless, her reflection ghosting across the multilayered holographic displays. Scars traced her left cheek, remnants of the first contact wars that most humans preferred to forget. But Catherine remembered. Every line on her face told a story of survival, of humanity's relentless push against cosmic indifference. The ship's construction had been a carefully orchestrated symphony of secrecy and innovation. 12 independent research teams, each working on isolated sections of the project, had no idea of the full scope of their creation. Quantum computing specialists from the New Delhi Institute worked alongside materials engineers from the Brazilian Space Consortium. Propulsion experts from the Martian research grounds collaborated with AI developers from the Tokyo Computational Nexus. Each component of the Leviathan represented a breakthrough that would have taken most alien civilizations centuries to conceptualize. The ship's outer hull used a revolutionary nano-adaptive material developed by Dr. Elena Rodriguez, a material that could restructure its molecular composition in milliseconds, responding to external threats with an almost living intelligence. "Status report," Catherine murmured, her voice cutting through the ambient hum of advanced technology. A holographic avatar materialized, a refined artificial intelligence named ARIA, not an acronym, but a carefully crafted intelligence that blurred the line between machine and consciousness. Construction at 97.3% completion. ARIA responded, her voice a perfect blend of clinical precision and subtle warmth. Final quantum resonance tests are showing unprecedented stability. Catherine's eyes tracked the holographic schematics. The Leviathan was more than a battleship. It was a statement, a declaration that humanity would no longer be viewed as a young, inexperienced species cowering at the edges of galactic civilization. The ship's power core represented humanity's most significant technological leap. Where other species relied on traditional fusion or antimatter technologies, the Leviathan used a quantum entanglement reactor that drew energy directly from the fundamental fabric of space-time. It was a technology so advanced that most alien scientific communities would consider it impossible. Dr. Marcus Chen, the project's chief physicist, approached Catherine. His hands were stained with calibration residue, a testament to his hands-on approach to innovation. "The final quantum matrix is showing results beyond our most optimistic projections," he said, excitement barely contained beneath his professional demeanor. Catherine nodded, her mind already several steps ahead. The Leviathan wasn't just a weapon. It was a message, a complex, multifaceted communication that would speak to every species in the known galaxy. Memories of previous encounters flickered through her mind. The condescending looks from alien diplomats, the subtle dismissals of human potential, the unspoken assumption that humanity was just another developing species, destined to remain on the periphery of galactic civilization. Those memories fueled her resolve. Outside the construction chamber, the obsidian asteroid fields stretched into infinite darkness. Each asteroid had been carefully hollowed and reinforced, creating a natural fortress that would protect humanity's most significant project. Stealth systems developed by the most advanced human intelligence agencies ensured that the Leviathan's construction remained completely undetected. 12 years of work, Catherine whispered, more to herself than to Araya or Marcus. 12 years of preparation. The holographic displays continued their intricate dance, revealing only a fraction of the Leviathan's true potential. Weapon systems that could target molecular bonds, communication networks that transcended traditional understanding, defensive capabilities that redefined the very concept of protection. Humanity was ready, and the galaxy had no idea what was coming. The Tau CD system glimmered like a jewel of potential colonization, its planets carefully mapped by human reconnaissance drones over decades. What the Syndicate didn't understand was that every meter of this system had been meticulously prepared, every asteroid and lunar body potentially a component of humanity's defensive strategy. Commander Zora Kovalenko watched from the forward observation deck of Outpost Horizon, her augmented eyes tracking the incoming Syndicate fleet. Hundreds of crystalline warships moved with what their commanders believed was mathematical precision, a cold, calculated invasion force that had conquered dozens of species across the galaxy. Intelligence reports suggested the Syndicate saw human colonies as nothing more than resource-rich territories waiting to be claimed. Their initial scans showed isolated settlements, seemingly vulnerable and disconnected. What they couldn't see were the intricate defensive networks humming beneath the surface of every human-controlled planet and station. Incoming transmission, a young communications officer announced, her fingers dancing across a holographic interface. Syndicate fleet is broadcasting standard conquest protocol. Zara allowed herself a slight smile. Standard. That was the problem with the Syndicate. They believed everything could be reduced to standard protocols. The transmission was predictably pompous, a collective consciousness speaking through a single voice, declaring the imminent absorption of human territories. Standard language of subjugation. Terms like evolutionary integration and collective advancement that masked pure territorial expansion. Deep within the Ta City system's asteroid belt, hidden defensive platforms came to life. These were not simple weapon emplacements, but complex, adaptive systems that had been developed by the most brilliant human strategic minds. Each platform was essentially a mini supercomputer capable of making split-second tactical decisions that would make traditional military strategists weep. Dr. Elena Rodriguez, who had been instrumental in developing these defensive networks, watched from a secure communication hub on Mars. Her team had spent years creating an AI-driven defensive system that could think beyond traditional combat algorithms. Where most species design defensive systems to respond to threats, humans had created something that could predict, adapt, and counteract before the threat fully materialized. The first wave of Syndicate ships entered the system with an almost casual arrogance. Massive crystalline vessels that had broken the backs of multiple civilizations now approached what they believed would be yet another easy conquest. Their sensor arrays probed the system, looking for weaknesses, for vulnerabilities that had become their trademark in previous invasions. They found nothing. Or more precisely, they found exactly what they were meant to find. Holographic decoy settlements flickered into existence, showing what appeared to be vulnerable human colonies, resource-rich planets with seemingly minimal defensive capabilities. The Syndicate fleet began its approach, confident in their technological superiority. What they didn't realize was that each of these decoys was a carefully constructed trap. Zara's fingers moved across her command interface, initiating the first phase of the defensive strategy. Quantum-entangled communication networks came alive, creating a defensive web that was invisible to traditional scanning methods. The very fabric of space around the human territories began to subtly shift, creating interference patterns that would confuse and misdirect the incoming fleet. Tactical analysis complete, the ship's AI reported. Syndicate fleet approach vectors suggest primary target clusters in the 3rd and 4th planetary zones. Zora knew better. The Syndicate thought they were choosing the targets. In reality, they were being guided, herded into precisely calculated positions. "Activate Phase 1, she commanded. The first Syndicate ships crossed an invisible threshold. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, with a precision that bordered on mathematical poetry, the first defensive systems came to life. The galaxy was about to learn a fundamental lesson about humanity. We do not wait for threats. We anticipate them. 17 minutes. That was all it took to shatter the Syndicate's invasion strategy. 17 minutes that would be studied by military academies across the galaxy for generations to come. The first wave of Syndicate ships encountered something entirely beyond their comprehension. Defensive systems that didn't just react but anticipated. Weapon platforms that seemed to understand the fundamental nature of their incoming attacks before the attacks themselves were fully formed. Lieutenant Commander David Chen watched from the secondary command center, his hand steady on the quantum interface. Each movement was a ballet of computational precision, his augmented neural network working in perfect synchronization with the defensive systems. The Syndicate's crystalline warships began to experience impossible failures. Weapon systems would power down microseconds before firing. Navigation computers would suddenly reroute trajectories, sending ships careening into carefully positioned traps. Energy shields would momentarily destabilize at the exact moment a precision strike would slip through. It wasn't just defense, it was a form of technological warfare that redefined the very concept of combat. Dr. Samira Patel, the lead quantum systems engineer, monitored the engagement with a mixture of scientific fascination and professional pride. Her team had developed adaptive targeting algorithms that didn't just predict enemy movements. They understood the fundamental decision-making processes behind those movements. Quantum interference patterns stabilizing, she muttered, more to herself than to anyone else. Each of the defensive platforms was a node in a massive living network. They communicated not through traditional communication channels, but through quantum entanglement, a method of information transfer so advanced it was practically indistinguishable from prescience. The Syndicate fleet commanders watched in growing horror as their carefully planned invasion dissolved into chaos. Their most advanced ships, vessels that had conquered entire civilizations, were being systematically dismantled with a precision that defied technological understanding. One by one, Syndicate ships began to break apart, not through brute force, but through a series of microscopic interventions that targeted their most fundamental systems. Quantum resonance fields disrupted molecular bonds. Adaptive energy dispersal systems turned powerful weapon strikes into harmless light shows. They're not just defending, David observed to Lieutenant Kira Rodriguez, his tactical partner. They're teaching a lesson. Indeed, each defensive action was a message. Humanity wasn't just protecting itself. It was demonstrating a level of technological sophistication that would reshape galactic understanding of warfare. The quantum targeting systems were something entirely new. Traditional combat involved identifying a target and applying force. Humanity's approach was different. These systems didn't just target ships, they targeted the very concept of an attack. They understood the mathematical and physical principles behind each incoming threat and neutralized it before it could fully form. Holographic displays showed the engagement from multiple perspectives. To an outside observer, it would look like the Syndicate fleet was simply falling apart. No massive explosions, no dramatic weapon exchanges, just a systematic, almost surgical dissolution of an entire invasion force. 17 minutes. When the engagement ended, not a single human life had been lost. The Syndicate fleet, once considered the most advanced military force in known space, had been reduced to expanding clouds of atomic debris. More importantly, a message had been sent. Humanity was not to be underestimated. The research facility on Europa's underground complex buzzed with an electric intensity that transcended typical scientific excitement. Dr. Marcus Chen stood surrounded by holographic displays, each projection revealing another layer of the recovered Syndicate technology. "This is beyond anything we've ever seen," he muttered, running his augmented fingers through a three-dimensional molecular reconstruction of a Syndicate weapon system. Recovery teams had meticulously gathered fragments from the destroyed invasion fleet. What seemed like random debris to an untrained eye was a treasure trove of technological insights that would revolutionize human understanding of advanced warfare and scientific potential. Dr. Elena Rodriguez's approach, her eyes reflecting the same mixture of scientific curiosity and strategic understanding that defined humanity's approach to technological discovery. "The quantum resonance patterns are unlike anything in our previous databases," she observed, manipulating a holographic interface that broke down the molecular structure of a Syndicate shield generator. The facility was a fortress of innovation. Reinforced walls lined with quantum dampening materials prevented any potential external scanning. Multilayered security systems ensured that not a single byte of information could escape without explicit authorization. Each recovered piece of technology told a story. The Syndicate's weapon systems, once considered the pinnacle of galactic military technology, now appeared almost primitive when examined through human analytical capabilities. Their shield generators used predictable energy distribution models. Their communication networks relied on linear quantum transmission that was laughably vulnerable to sophisticated interference. "Look at this," Marcus called out, zooming in on a molecular-level reconstruction of a Syndicate propulsion system. They'd been using a quantum tunneling method that loses nearly 40% of its potential energy in transmission. Our latest prototypes could improve that by at least 75%. The implications were staggering. It wasn't just about military superiority. These discoveries would revolutionize transportation, energy production, and computational technologies across multiple scientific domains. Lieutenant Commander David Chen entered the facility, bringing with him additional recovered artifacts. His augmented neural network was already processing and categorizing the technological fragments faster than any traditional computer could manage. "The AI analysis is complete," David reported. "We've identified at least 17 distinct technological breakthrough points that can be immediately adapted to our existing systems." Alina's fingers danced across the holographic interface, revealing complex molecular diagrams. "Their energy containment methods are fundamentally flawed. They've been working with a 3-dimensional quantum model when a 5-dimensional approach would solve most of their technological limitations." The recovered Syndicate technology was more than just military equipment. It was a comprehensive map of technological understanding and its limitations. Marcus pulled up a comprehensive overlay that compared human technological approaches with the Syndicate's most advanced systems. The differences were stark. Where the Syndicate relied on rigid, predictable computational models, human technology embraced uncertainty, adaptability, and creative problem-solving. "They've been trapped in a technological paradigm," Marcus explained to the team. "Each innovation was an incremental improvement on existing technologies. They never truly broke their own established frameworks. Humanity's approach was fundamentally different. Each technological challenge was an opportunity to reimagine fundamental scientific principles." The recovered artifacts would take years to fully analyze. But already, preliminary studies suggested that humanity was not just catching up to galactic technological standards, they were preparing to redefine them entirely. As the holographic displays continued their intricate dance of molecular reconstructions, one thing became abundantly clear. The Syndicate's invasion had been a critical mistake. They had not just underestimated humanity's military capabilities. They had underestimated humanity's capacity for innovation. The Galactic Council chamber fell into a silence so profound it seemed to consume oxygen. Representatives from 200 different species sat frozen, their various physiological responses betraying a universal emotion: pure, unadulterated terror. Ambassador Kira Rodriguez stood at the central podium, her holographic presentation dissecting the Syndicate's total destruction with clinical precision. Each data point was a knife, methodically cutting through centuries of established galactic power dynamics. "Let me be absolutely clear," she began, her voice calm and measured. "The invasion force was not merely defeated. It was systematically dismantled using technological capabilities that fundamentally challenge our understanding of warfare and scientific potential." The Zortak representative, a crystalline being whose molecular structure typically showed no emotional variance, began to fracture at its edges, a physiological sign of extreme stress among its species. The Quantum Collective's ambassador's quantum-entangled communication nodes flickered erratically, suggesting complete computational distress. Communication networks across the galaxy lit up with encrypted transmissions. Every major species was attempting to understand what had just happened. How could a species they had collectively dismissed as emerging have developed such advanced technological capabilities? On the communication hub of the Galactic Central Network, data streams became a chaotic river of speculation and fear. Intelligence agencies from multiple star systems began parsing every available piece of information about human technological development. The Preservation Council, a collective of the galaxy's most advanced technological societies, called an emergency session. Their primary quantum communication channels became a maelstrom of urgent discussions. "This is impossible," muttered Executor Xylos of the Quantum Collective, its multifaceted consciousness struggling to process the data. Human technological development should be decades, if not centuries, behind our established models. But the data was irrefutable. The Syndicate's entire invasion force, a fleet that had conquered 37 different civilizations, had been neutralized in 17 minutes, not through overwhelming firepower, but through a level of technological sophistication that defied current scientific understanding. Ambassador Rodriguez continued her presentation. Holographic displays showed molecular-level interactions, quantum interference patterns, and adaptive defensive technologies that made the Galactic Council's most advanced weapon systems look like primitive tools. The Confederation of Stellar Architects, a group that had long considered themselves the pinnacle of technological innovation, found themselves becoming increasingly uncomfortable. Their entire philosophical and technological framework was being challenged by a species they had previously categorized as developing. "We are not asking for permission," Kira stated, her words cutting through the chamber like a precision laser. "We are informing you of a new galactic reality." Diplomatic channels across multiple star systems began to light up. Some species initiated emergency preparedness protocols. Others began rapid technological assessment programs. The more advanced civilizations started reviewing their diplomatic stance towards humanity. The Quantum Collective's primary communication matrix began to show signs of stress. Their computational models, which had predicted human technological development with what they believed was absolute certainty, were now completely invalid. "This is not just a technological breakthrough," whispered the Ireland diplomatic coordinator, its multiple sensory organs vibrating with a mix of fear and reluctant admiration. "This is a fundamental reshaping of galactic power dynamics." Ambassador Rodriguez allowed herself the slightest hint of a smile. The presentation was not just about showcasing technological capabilities. It was a carefully orchestrated message to the entire galactic community. Humanity had arrived, and they were done asking for a seat at the table. They were going to redesign the entire room. The strategic planning room aboard the Leviathan was a marvel of human ingenuity. Holographic displays cascaded with information, each projection a living, breathing representation of humanity's multidimensional approach to galactic strategy. Admiral Catherine Takeshi stood at the center, her augmented neural interface connecting her directly to the ship's advanced computational systems. Around her, a team of strategists from diverse backgrounds, military, diplomatic, technological, and sociological, worked in perfect synchronization. "We're not just responding to the Syndicate," Catherine explained to her core team. "We're reshaping the entire galactic strategic landscape." The room hummed with a quiet intensity. Each team member represented a different approach to human strategic thinking. Dr. Marcus Chen, the quantum systems expert, worked alongside Lieutenant Commander David Chen, whose tactical expertise was matched only by his ability to predict complex political interactions. The primary strategy was elegantly simple yet incredibly complex. Where most species approached conflict as a linear problem of resource acquisition and territorial control, humans saw it as a multidimensional chess game played across technological, diplomatic, economic, and cultural dimensions. "Look at the economic networks," pointed out Elena Rodriguez, bringing up a holographic representation of the Syndicate's economic infrastructure. Her fingers danced across the display, revealing intricate vulnerabilities that no other species had previously identified. The Syndicate's economic system was built on a hierarchical model that assumed technological superiority, translated directly into economic and political power. Humanity's approach was fundamentally different. They saw economic networks as living, adaptive systems that could be influenced through strategic interventions. "We're not going to destroy their economic infrastructure," Catherine explained. "We're going to fundamentally reshape it." Each potential intervention was meticulously analyzed. Quantum computational models ran millions of potential scenarios, identifying the most efficient paths to achieve strategic objectives with minimal direct confrontation. Lieutenant Kira Rodriguez, the team's diplomatic specialist, brought up a comprehensive analysis of potential political responses from other galactic species. The Quantum Collective will likely attempt to form a defensive alliance, she noted. The Arlen Confederation will seek to maintain neutrality while secretly assessing our capabilities. The strategy went far beyond military considerations. It was a comprehensive approach that considered technological innovation, economic restructuring, diplomatic positioning, and long-term species development. Our goal is not conquest, Catherine emphasized. Our goal is to create a more stable, interconnected galactic ecosystem. The holographic displays showed potential intervention points, technological exchanges that would subtly reshape other species' developmental trajectories, economic network modifications that would create more balanced power distributions, diplomatic initiatives that would challenge existing galactic hierarchies. Dr. Samira Patel, the team's cultural anthropologist, brought up comparative studies of species development. We're not just responding to the syndicate, she explained. We're providing a new model of species interaction. Each team member represented a different computational and strategic approach. Where traditional military strategies focused on direct confrontation, this team saw conflict as a complex, multidimensional challenge that could be resolved through innovative thinking. The Leviathan was more than a battleship. It was a mobile strategic center, capable of processing and responding to complex galactic dynamics faster than any existing system. Prepare Diplomatic Package Alpha, Catherine commanded. The room shifted, holographic displays reconfiguring to show carefully crafted communication strategies that would reshape galactic understanding of human capabilities. They weren't just planning a response to the Syndicate's invasion. They were redesigning the fundamental rules of galactic engagement. The research facility on Titan became ground zero for understanding humanity's most profound weapon, unpredictability. Dr. Elena Rodriguez stood before a panel of the most brilliant minds humanity had assembled. Quantum physicists, neural network specialists, cultural anthropologists, and strategic theorists filled the amphitheater-like conference room. Each represented a different facet of human potential, a living embodiment of the species' capacity for multidimensional thinking. Conventional computational models fail to capture the essence of human problem-solving. Elena began, her holographic presentation coming to life around her. Intricate diagrams showed the fundamental difference between algorithmic thinking and human cognitive approaches. Where most advanced species developed linear problem-solving systems, humans introduced chaos, creativity, and an almost intuitive approach to complex challenges. Their neural networks didn't just process information, they reimagined it. The recovered syndicate technology revealed something far more profound than mere technical superiority. It exposed a fundamental limitation in how most galactic civilizations approached innovation and conflict. Dr. Marcus Chen brought up a comparative analysis of technological development. Look at the progression, he explained, highlighting the differences between various galactic species' technological evolution. Most civilizations develop through incremental improvements, each innovation carefully built upon previous established frameworks. Humans were different. They didn't just improve existing models. They completely reimagined them. The neural interface specialists had discovered something extraordinary. Human cognitive systems didn't just adapt to challenges. They actively sought out novel approaches. Where a traditional computational system would optimize existing solutions, human minds would spontaneously generate entirely new problem-solving methodologies. Lieutenant Commander David Chin demonstrated a series of tactical simulations. Each scenario showed how human strategic thinking defied traditional computational predictions. In military, diplomatic, and technological domains, humans introduced an element of unpredictability that became their most powerful asset. We don't just think outside the box, David explained. We redesign the entire concept of a box. The facility's most secure research wing housed the most sensitive discoveries. Neurological studies revealed that human creativity wasn't a bug in their cognitive system, it was a fundamental feature. Their brains were literally wired to generate novel solutions, to find patterns where others saw chaos. Cultural anthropologist Dr. Samira Patel presented a groundbreaking analysis. Our ability to integrate seemingly unrelated concepts is our true technological advantage, she argued. The presentation showed how human innovation often came from unexpected connections. Art inspiring technological design, cultural experiences informing scientific approaches. The syndicate's fundamental mistake had been viewing humanity through a traditional computational lens. They had analyzed human capabilities using linear predictive models that completely failed to capture the species' core strength. Unpredictability. Creativity. The ability to fundamentally reimagine existing paradigms. Each recovered piece of technology told a story. The syndicate's most advanced systems were built on rigid, predictable computational models. They optimized within established frameworks. Humans didn't just optimize. They dismantled and rebuilt those frameworks entirely. We are not just another species in the galactic ecosystem, Elena concluded. We are a fundamental disruption to existing understanding of technological and cognitive potential. The presentation was more than a scientific analysis. It was a declaration. Humanity wasn't just participating in the galactic conversation. They were preparing to completely rewrite its fundamental language. The Grand Diplomatic Assembly of the Galactic Confederation represented thousands of years of established interstellar protocol. Massive crystalline chambers stretched across kilometers, designed to accommodate representatives from over 200 distinct species. Today, those chambers would witness a fundamental transformation of galactic power dynamics. Admiral Catherine Takeshi stood at the central podium, the holographic projections of the Leviathan casting a subtle light behind her. She was more than a military leader. She was the embodiment of humanity's collective potential. We are not here to conquer, she began, her voice cutting through layers of diplomatic tension. We are here to reshape our collective understanding of coexistence. The representatives from various species shifted uncomfortably. Some molecular structures trembled. Others displayed complex color patterns indicating deep psychological stress. The quantum collective's ambassadors' quantum-entangled communication nodes flickered with an almost palpable anxiety. The presentation was a masterpiece of strategic communication. Catherine outlined not a path of military expansion, but a comprehensive framework for technological and cultural exchange. Where previous galactic powers had used force and economic pressure, humanity proposed a radical model of collaborative development. Dr. Elena Rodriguez joined Catherine, bringing up holographic displays that demonstrated humanity's technological breakthroughs. But these were not displays of military might. They were invitations to collaborative innovation. Our goal is not dominance, Elena explained. Our goal is collective advancement. The recovered syndicate technology became the first offering of this new approach. Instead of hoarding the discoveries, humanity proposed a comprehensive sharing of technological insights. Each breakthrough would be disseminated, allowing other species to benefit from the innovations. Lieutenant Commander David Chen presented the strategic vision. It was a multidimensional approach that challenged every existing galactic paradigm. Economic networks would be redesigned. Technological exchange protocols would be completely restructured. Cultural understanding would become a primary diplomatic objective. The Ireland Confederation's representative, a being of complex crystalline structure, struggled to process the unprecedented proposal. Their entire diplomatic history was built on careful, incremental exchanges. Humanity was proposing something entirely different, a complete reimagining of interstellar cooperation. We understand your hesitation, Catherine continued. But consider this. Every species in this chamber has been constrained by established thinking. We're proposing a new approach. The holographic displays began to show potential collaborative scenarios, technological innovations that could solve long-standing challenges for multiple species, economic models that would create more balanced developmental opportunities, cultural exchange programs that went beyond traditional diplomatic protocols. Dr. Samira Patel, the team's cultural anthropologist, demonstrated how human cognitive approaches could help species overcome long-standing developmental barriers. It wasn't about imposing a human perspective, but about introducing new ways of thinking about complex challenges. The Syndicate's defeat was almost an afterthought in this presentation. This wasn't about military victory. This was about a fundamental transformation of galactic potential. "We are not asking for permission," Catherine said, her final statement both a declaration and an invitation. "We are offering a partnership." The chamber fell into a profound silence. Centuries of established galactic power dynamics were being dismantled in real time. The Leviathan, once seen as a weapon of destruction, was now being presented as a symbol of collaborative potential. As the presentation concluded, something fundamental had changed. The galaxy would never be the same. Humanity had arrived, not as conquerors, not as competitors, but as partners in a larger, more complex cosmic narrative.